The Hustler and the Color of Money, the Queen's Gambit. Are they that different? In this video, I'm going to be looking at Eddie Felson's story arc. I'm going to be breaking it down to the elemental form, the story elements that screenwriters use to build the pyramid, to build their screenplays. And I'm going to be asking the question, is Eddie Felson all that different from Beth Harmon? So grab some popcorn, make yourself comfortable, and let's continue our quest to try to understand the next great pool movie story. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you haven't been here before, we talk about pool and we talk about filmmaking. So if that's right up your alley, by all means, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. That goes a long way in helping me build this channel into something bigger and something better. So with that out of the way, let's get right at it. In 1986, Martin Scorsese's film, The Color of Money, hit theaters. Now, this is the adaptation of Walter Tevis's book by the same name. What's cool is The Color of Money is a continuation of The Hustler, also written by Tevis from his 1959 novel. So what's awesome is we get to see what happened to Eddie Felson after the events of what happened in that movie. And we're going to be taking a look at that when we're looking at his story arc. Now, from this point forward, we are only going to be referring to things that happened on screen and not what happened in the books. And that goes for Beth Harmon and the Queen's Gambit as well. So what's not often talked about, though, what happened after The Color of Money, is the renaissance that happened in pool. Everybody wanted their own cue. Pool halls popped up in all these places. It was a wave. It was a spike in our sport and our pastime and our love. And we've ridden that wave right up to this very day. And that's what makes The Color of Money, in my opinion, the gold standard. You know, you could walk into a pool hall to this day, go to the jukebox and pump it with Warren Zevon's Werewolves of London or Don Henley, Who Owns This Place, anything. It's amazing. You can take a look around the pool hall after doing that and you'll catch the eye of some pool player in there and he or she will just give you the nod like, thank you. It's a special thing. The same thing is happening today in the chess world. I mean, when did chess become cool? Well, it became cool when people watched the Queen's Gambit. So now they've gone out loving that story. They went out, they're buying chessboards and they're buying books to try to learn the moves that were talked about in that show. And that's great, but that's their phenomenon. That's their wave that chess is gonna ride for a while, right? How long it lasts is yet to be seen, right? The pool wave, I mean, we've ridden it for decades. We want another great pool movie. So that's the purpose of this video, is we're gonna try to understand this phenomenon, and with understanding comes knowledge, and with knowledge comes action. So we are going to attempt to try to build another pool story. So when I analyze a movie, I'm gonna break it down to its elemental form because that's how I've been taught to write. So if it's obvious what these elements are, I'm just going to move on. But if it's not obvious, I'm going to take the time to explain why this story element is important. Because story elements are like a pyramid, and a screenwriter needs to get every single one of these elements straight in their head before they even put pen to paper or keyboard to screen, right? You need to have a firm understanding. So with that knowledge, let's take a look at Eddie Felson's story arc. We don't know much about Eddie at the start of The Hustler. He's already on the road with his partner Charlie. He's already an amazing pool player, taking cash off unsuspecting marks. What we learn very quickly is Eddie's APQ, or Active Physical Quest. Easy, find and beat Minnesota Fats. Now an APQ is a character's primary external goal. These are usually easy to see in cinema. For example, Predator, get to the chopper, or Jaws, kill the shark. An active physical quest is created by an inciting incident. In Predator, Schwarzenegger's team starts getting offed. In Jaws, people start getting eaten by the shark. These are physical stakes that are associated with the APQ. In The Hustler, we're never shown this inciting incident. We join Eddie on the road and his APQ is in full action already. What set him off on his journey to become the best? We just don't know that. What are the physical stakes with this APQ? Well, there's a few that pop up later, like broken thumbs and Bert's threat to never walk into a big-time pool hall again, but we'll get to those. Eventually, Eddie meets up with Fats and they play. Eddie ends up making his goal of winning $10,000, but refuses to quit. It's over when the fat man says it's over. He goes on to win even more, but eventually loses it all to Fats. What's really important in this scene is that we meet the antagonist in the story, Bert. He's the man staking Fats and calls Eddie a loser. He was right in this instance. Eddie did it to himself. This is a revelation Eddie needs to make before he can win. Shortly after, Eddie abandons his ally, Charlie, and goes it on his own. He meets Sarah. After a short time, she lets him into her life, and they form a relationship. This will become incredibly important as Eddie's ghost will be rearing its ugly head soon. A ghost is a deep emotional scar that sets a character's emotional desire into action. An emotional desire is the character's primary internal goal, but we're not there yet. Just wait. Eddie meets Bert at a bar later in the story and loses some money at poker. Bert compliments Eddie's pool game, but assaults his character by saying he has no character and calls him a born loser. Nevertheless, he offers to stake Eddie, to which Eddie refuses. This is the protagonist and the antagonist of the story going head to head. We'll see more of this. Eddie still wants a crack at Fats. Later, Eddie hustles in a game in a dicey neighborhood and gets his thumbs broken. This is physical stakes here. Of course, Sarah cares for Eddie on his road to recovery. It's in this time where she declares her love for him and proposes something in direct contrast to Bert's message. She calls Eddie a winner. Most people never get to feel like that, like you feel at the pool table. You're a winner, Eddie, and I love you. These words don't impact Eddie like they should. Eddie has a moral flaw in that he believes the only one that can help him is himself. It's why he abandoned his roadmate Charlie. A moral flaw is a lie the protagonist believes that hurts his or herself and the people around. This moral flaw is going to come back and bite Eddie later in the story. You watch. Fast forward to a rehabilitated Eddie. He takes Bert up on his stake offer. Eddie, Bert, and Sarah travel to Kentucky for a high-stakes game. As the game is 3-cushion billiards and not straight pool, Eddie loses badly at the start. It's not his game. Bert refuses to continue staking him, and this enrages Eddie. Sarah implores Eddie to leave with her. He lashes out at her. Her eyes are wide open to how twisted Bert is and the perverted world he represents. Eddie refuses to leave, and her love is thrown to the wind. It's only after this when Bert says he'll continue staking Eddie. Bert's won in this scene. The antagonist has won. A good parallel is Star Wars. Think Darth Sidious and Anakin Skywalker. Eddie had just given himself over to the dark side. Eddie would go on to win big, and after Bert takes his 75%, Eddie had the money he needed to stake himself in a game with the fat man. But at what price? Later that night, Bert would beat Eddie home and rape Sarah. She would write with lipstick on the mirror, perverted, twisted, crippled, and kill herself. Sarah is an incredibly deep character in which we could make a whole video just on her, but that might be for another time. Eddie returns to see the aftermath of his decision and his moral flaw. This incident becomes Eddie's ghost. His emotional desire will be unclear to him for quite some time, well into The Color of Money. Eddie plays Fats again, still mourning Sarah's loss. He destroys him, except this time, Fats calls it off. He can't beat Eddie. After a ghost like the one Eddie just experienced, I guess that lack of character problem that Bert cited wasn't a problem anymore. That was a tough lesson. In the end, Eddie won his active physical quest, but at what cost? He gained a terrible ghost to which he would have to live with for the rest of his life. Bert tries to collect a 75% stake of what Eddie had just won off of Fats in true antagonistic fashion. Eddie refuses Bert, proclaims that he loved Sarah and that he'd better kill him, because if he doesn't, he's going to come back and he's going to kill Bert. Bert concedes, but warns Eddie to stay out of all big-time pool halls, and Eddie walks out. Now this is important. Do you think that Eddie stops playing pool and leaves the pool scene because he's scared of Bert? No way. I mean, he just told him that If you come after me, Bert, you better kill me, because I'm going to get better, I'm going to find you, and I'm going to kill you. No, he leaves because he accomplished his APQ, his active physical quest, but he lost his soul in the process. He threw the woman that he figured out that he loved, and a woman, she loved him unequivocally. He threw her away just to complete that quest to beat Minnesota Fats. He lost his soul in the process. He lost everything, really. And now he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. So Eddie is the big loser. And that's why a lot of people consider The Hustler a tragedy. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but it certainly does set us up well for The Color of Money now, doesn't it? Let's take a look. Let's fast forward 20 plus years into the future. Eddie is now a successful liquor salesman in Chicago. Of course he'd be successful, right? He's a winner, isn't he? With that being said, however, he couldn't turn his back on pool entirely. He still staked younger players like Julian, much like Bert staked him back in the day. In effect, liquor sales was a way for Eddie to quietly stay close to his addiction, which was the thrill of winning at pool at any cost. After all, money won is twice as sweet as money earned. That's the controlling idea of this story. This idea can't be broken or the movie won't make sense. It's through this that Eddie meets Vincent, a brash and charismatic young shark. Now I'm going to set the stage for this movie right now. Eddie today is an anti-hero. Think Walter White in Breaking Bad. He's someone who is flawed morally and has questionable beliefs in life, yet we root for them. We know the trauma or ghost that occurred to them and hope they save themselves. Now make no mistakes, Vincent is the antagonist in The Color of Money, or a fake ally. Some would call this harsh, but look at the story beats carefully. Vincent throughout the movie will challenge Eddie, frustrate him. This personal conflict is the driving force that will propel Eddie to his ultimate transformation. This will be our payoff. Wait for it. After some hustling of his own and being a student of human moves, Eddie convinces Vincent and Carmen, Vincent's girlfriend, to head out onto the road for some seasoning and lessons on how to be a hustler and pool excellence. But why did Eddie really do this? Well, the fact is, the minute he heard that break of Vincent's, he was propelled back to that time where he was the winner. He was the best. There is something to this, when a player who really does know the game doesn't even have to see the break. They hear the break and they know that it's good. It comes with time and feel. Unknowingly, Vincent just lit a fire that had been dormant in Eddie. But with that fire came the pain, the real reason he walked away, Sarah. During those weeks on the road, both Vincent and Carmen butt heads with Eddie, but lessons are learned. Most importantly, it's Eddie learning too. This aids in Eddie's road to self-revelation. Still though, the guilt of his actions in The Hustler hold Eddie back. It's painful for Eddie to think of. The conversation he has with Vincent and Carmen about it being over for him before it really began is Eddie refusing to face his guilt. This is Eddie's inner conflict, something he needs to address before he truly wins back his soul and transform. Eddie loses to a local hustler named Amos. It was the final lesson that Eddie needed to confront his demons, a proverbial kick in the you-know-what. He needed to hit rock bottom. He knew he should have seen Amos coming a mile away, and he should have beaten him too. This is self-revelation. He wanted desperately to have what he had when he left the pool world, to be the best. His emotional desire was to forgive himself and to live out the days in peace. His ghost was Sarah and his actions that led to her suicide. Eddie was ready to forgive himself. He had hit rock bottom. Eddie abandons Vincent and Carmen. Remember, Eddie is an anti-hero. Nobody said he wasn't morally flawed. In fact, we know better, don't we? Eddie proceeds to rehabilitate himself. He gets in shape, gets glasses so he can see, and he practices and seasons himself. He's ready to be what Sarah always knew he was. The irony here is that Eddie was a winner in liquor sales. He should have felt proud in that, but he didn't. That was money earned, not money won. Remember our controlling idea. Eddie, Vincent, and Carmen meet weeks later at an Atlantic City tournament. It's awkward, but it is what it is. Vincent, however, isn't satisfied. In the climax of the movie, Eddie beats Vincent to move on in the tournament, but Vincent later divulges that he threw the match and gives Eddie a cut of the action for doing so. This is a figurative slap to the face of Eddie. Later the two meet to hash it out, and the occurrences that occurred on their journey that led them to this point. I think they silently concede that everybody is better off that everything happened than not. They decide to play for the envelope. Here comes the payoff. Eddie understands that he's older and most likely doesn't have the time to be the best again for very long. The important thing is he's forgiven himself for his past decisions. He's suffered long enough. He doesn't take pride in what it took to get him here back to this point. But the important thing is, he's back. Eddie is reborn. This is one of the main archetypes in story. Rebirth. This is rebirth. The big payoff for us as an audience is redemption can be attained. We can forgive ourselves for bad decisions. We can move on without pain. This is the beauty of Fast Eddie Felson's story. All right, so that was 1986. 1986! We have been riding that wave, that amazing story, since 1986. That's decades of waiting for the next great pool movie. Others have tried, you may have a guilty pleasure here, like maybe Pool Hall Junkies or I don't know. There's been a few movies. In my opinion, they have all failed horribly. But we as pool players, like I mentioned earlier in the video, should rejoice. Because just watch The Queen's Gambit. Because the story points, the elements are exactly the same. Yes, the plot points are different, and we're going to go into it. But if you want that same feeling that you got from the Fast Eddie Felson story arc, look no further than Beth Harmon, written by the same author, so there's some similarities. But let's take a look, and I'll prove it to you. Pool players waiting for that next great pool movie can satisfy their love of Fast Eddie by watching Beth Harmon. She is the same. Yes, there's different plot points. It's not about pool, it's about chess. She's a woman and Eddie's a man. But let's dig deeper. In many ways, Beth Harmon is a deeper character than Eddie. Eddie created his own ghost. Beth was a kid. She became an orphan because of a horrible decision by her mother. This past ghost and pain drives her to addiction, but also finds salvation in chess. Her chess excellence reflects Eddie's pool excellence. Her addiction mirrors Eddie's. Beth Harmon's journey takes her to a climax with her addiction, but also leads her to transformation. Amos hustling Eddie spurred Eddie to complete his transformation. Beth hits rock bottom with her substance abuse. Eddie has revelation that he still has time to be the winner Sarah knew that he was at the sport that he loved. Beth is an orphan girl who realizes every life she touched is willing to repay her with love that only family can provide. The orphan girl was never alone. Her life was rich with family. Don't think for a second that at the end of Color of Money, when Eddie Felson wins that leg against Vincent and he's about to break that 9-ball rack and he proclaims, "I'm back," that's any different from Beth Harmon at the end of Queen's Gambit when she sits down at that chessboard with that old Russian and she says, "Let's play." That's beautiful storytelling. And it's the same thing for both characters. That represents rebirth. That's them realizing their transformation. They've come back full circle. It's amazing storytelling. So what do you think? Am I totally out to lunch? Or am I on to something here, right? Leave your comments in the comments section. Tell me what you think. As pool players, like I said, we've been riding this wave and we want something new. We want the next great story in our pool world, right? In our story world, not chess, not any other sport. We want it. We're selfish. It's our time again. And I think that story can be written. But with that comes knowledge. We have to understand why Fast Eddie Felson's story arc was successful, why it's resonated, and let's just try to not reinvent the wheel. Let's try to build a different story world, but with the same themes, because obviously those themes, they resonate with us. That's all I have right now. So in the meantime, and in between time, I'll catch you on the flip side.